Up, everybody? This is the first podcast for Saints Highlights. This is Michael. I'm your host. Um, Basically, this is the first podcast, so I just want to go over basically what to expect from me. Um, I'm going to be doing a monthly podcast. Obviously, this is the first one, and there'll be another one towards the end of February. Um, I'm just going to be talking about, obviously, Saints news and all of that stuff, and in this episode today, the very first podcast, I'm going to talk about a brief review of the previous season. I'm going to talk about some of my unsung heroes and stuff like that. Okay, guys, so brief review of the season. We went 13-3. Obviously, you guys know about how that season ended, and I'm not even going to go into all of that. But it was a very good season. And the bright side of the ending of this result, obviously, we would rather be playing in the Super Bowl instead of sitting at home and all of that stuff. But we do get Drew Brees back next year, so I'm very excited about that because there's rumors flying around that he might retire if we were to win the Super Bowl. So it's definitely nice to be able to have him back. But I just want to talk about a couple of my unsung heroes from this season. So a couple of my unsung heroes are Von Bell. He really stepped up this year, had a great year. One of our best blitzing safeties, without a doubt. Another one of my unsung heroes is actually P.J. Williams. Like at the start of the season, P.J. Williams struggled heavily, right? And then we went and we traded for Eli Apple, and I guess that just really kind of motivated him to play a lot better. So that, really helped out in the long run for us because he was balling ever since Eli was added to the team. So, I'm very excited. He is a free agent coming up this year, though, so it's interesting to see if we're going to re-sign him or whatnot. So that's definitely a storyline to keep an eye on this offseason. And then another one of my unsung heroes is actually fullback Zach Line. Fullbacks never get the credit they really deserve, but Zach Line, he was a clutch guy for us. He blocked extremely well, probably one of the best blocking fullbacks there is. Hands down, one of the most athletic fullbacks in the entire NFL, because he used to be a running back for the Minnesota Vikings before he was released, and we signed him as a fullback. But, he blocks extremely well. He's a key part of our offense that nobody ever really talks about, plus his 2 touchdown receptions he had, a couple clutch runs as well. Those are just a few of my unsung heroes from the season. But as far as Saints news goes, we re-signed Josh Hill. So far, that's the only re-signing we've made. We signed him to a 3-year contract extension, so we do not have to worry about losing him. Obviously, we lose Ben Watson due to retirement, hoping we can try to convince him to come back for one last season, because I feel really bad that he has to end on the note that it did. But other than that, the future is extremely bright for us, guys. Obviously, like I said earlier, we have Drew Brees coming back next year, which obviously he's the greatest of all time, so that's a huge addition. Plus, if we do manage to keep Bridgewater, he'll have another full season to learn behind Drew Brees. Plus Taysom Hill, obviously, he was a crazy part of our offense this year. I do think we need to limit how often we use Taysom Hill, though, because there were some times where I really questioned Sean Payton's play calling decisions with Taysom Hill. But, never doubt Sean Payton. The dude's a genius. But, just get Taysom Hill another year to learn underneath Drew Brees as well, if he really is going to be our quarterback of the future. And briefly, I'm going to talk about Taysom Hill for a little bit. Taysom Hill is a phenomenal quarterback. I know on Instagram I've gotten in debates with people about whether or not I think he can be our franchise quarterback down the line. And if Drew were to retire tomorrow, could Taysom Hill step up and be our quarterback? No. I do not think so. I think we would need to go and sign somebody else or draft a guy. But Taysom Hill lacks accuracy, to say the least. And he's really sporadic, 1 second he'll complete the most beautiful throw you've ever seen in your life, and then next second he'll throw an interception that's where were you even throwing it, dude? It's just if Taysom Hill can clean up that a little bit, then he has a very, very, very good chance of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. But that's about the only thing he really needs work on. Now, moving on from that topic, the running back situation, we have Kamara coming back. Pretty much everybody else is a free agent, right? So, definitely curious to see if we're going to end up bringing back Mark Ingram or not. Personally, I would like to bring him back, keep the boom and zoom together. But if we can't, I understand business-wise and all that stuff. But, it would definitely be nice to keep the boom and zoom together. But if not, there's legitimate running backs in the draft or free agents and stuff like that. Moving on to the fullback situation, obviously we have Zach Line. There's no need to go after another guy there. Moving on to wide receivers, Mike Thomas. He needs some help, man. He has Ted Ginn, but Ginn was out the majority of the season. And it was definitely nice to see Kirkwood and Traquan Smith kind of step up into leaders in their rookie years. So I'm definitely excited to add guys to that receiving core. We have Mike Thomas, Cam Meredith coming back. We have Ted Ginn coming back next year to go along with Kirkwood and Traquan Smith, as well as Austin Carr. That's a lot of guys right there. Tommy Lee Lewis is facing free agency this upcoming season, so I highly doubt we're going to bring him back. And maybe like a receiver late in the draft or something, or maybe sign a guy for cheaper, just to kind of help out with our receiving core. Maybe like one more solid guy would really just put us over the top. In the result that somebody would get injured, Tight end, definitely an area of need for us going into the 2019 season, however. We have Josh Hill, and I liked what we did with him in the little screen passes this year, but he hasn't really quite proven to me quite yet. He could be our every down tight end, so maybe going after a guy in free agency like Jared Cook would be nice, or maybe trading up into the first round with our second round pick or something like that, and trading up to get like Noah Fant, a guy like that. But I think Caleb Wilson from UCLA will actually drop to us in the second round, and I would like to see us pick him up. Very tall, athletic, receiving tight end, not just a blocking guy. And that's exactly what we need in our offense, is a nice, tall receiving target to take some of the attention off of Mike Thomas and Ted Ginn. Kind of like we had with Jimmy Graham back in the day. We need a guy like that, but Jimmy Graham is a free agent this offseason, so we will see what happens there. Possible reunion? Ooh, your boy's going to keep you up to date on that. Anyways, moving on. The O-line. I like our offensive line. All but one of them, Ryan Ramczyk, were Pro Bowlers. Obviously, only 2 of them elected to play in the Pro Bowl. Now, I'm a little bit curious about Max Unger. Obviously, he's up there in years, and I think if we win the Super Bowl next year, he will also retire along with Drew Brees. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, so I would definitely think drafting a lineman or 2 in the draft, or maybe bringing in a guy or a backup center or something like that would definitely be nice to kind of learn underneath Max Unger. We have Cameron Tom, and he was solid at times, but we definitely need to shore up that O-line, because very injury-prone offensive line, and you could tell that when our backup linemen were in, we weren't quite the same, so we definitely got to address that a little bit. But as long as they're healthy and out there balling, I have no problems with the line we have now. Now let's move on to the defensive side of the ball, D-line. Our defensive tackles is the only thing I'm a little bit skeptical about, and maybe a defensive end on the other side of Cam Jordan. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a great run defense, second in the league to be exact, but when Rankins got hurt, you could tell we were struggling in the middle. We have Onyemata and Tyler Davison, who was actually a free agent coming into this season, but I really like Taylor Stallworth and how he stepped up. Man, that dude can ball. But you got to see, I highly doubt we bring Davison back. So that's, 3 solid defensive tackles. Maybe get one late in the draft, something like that. Or maybe go after Ndamukong Suh to get a real force in there to go along with Rankins. And then backed up by Onyemata and Stallworth, then we have the best defensive line in the league. And we got Cam Jordan on the D end, and then we have Davenport and Okafor on the other side. So I would just like to shore that up a little bit. It'd be nice to get a guy who's going to be healthy and play the full 16 for us, and then also be consistent at the same time. I like the potential I see in Davenport, but he's definitely not living up to that number 13 overall pick hype right now. But you can see the size, the speed, the power is all there. he commits stupid penalties at times, and it's just like, why, dude? But I like the potential we have in Davenport for sure, and then Okafor is obviously that veteran presence to help him out. Another guy who will probably retire if we win the Super Bowl next year is Alex Okafor. As you can see, what I'm trying to imply with all the Super Bowl, if we win the Super Bowl retirement stuff, is we need to start planning for the post-veteran stage, Like, I just listed a bunch of people who are likely to retire if we win the Super Bowl. Max Unger's one, Drew Brees, Ted Ginn's a legit question. We're talking like Okafor, probably Patrick Robinson. Speaking of which, we're going to move on to corners real quick. We got Lattimore, who didn't play as well this year because, his targets went way down. Like, people stopped throwing his way. But towards the end of the season, he really picked it up ever since, like, week 11 when he got that interception against Philly. He picked it up since then. And then, obviously, those 2 playoff interceptions were huge in the divisional round. That really is the reason we won the game. But, I like what we have in Lattimore, clearly. And then we have Patrick Robinson coming back. He's, obviously he was injured all season with an injury. ACL, I believe it was. I think he tore his ACL, something like that. But he was out for the whole season, didn't even get to play in a regular season game. The only game he played was in the preseason versus Cleveland. No. Was it Cleveland? I don't even remember who we played week 1 in the preseason. But all I know is that, it was Jacksonville, my bad. Yeah, we played Jacksonville. But yeah, he was injured after that game, which is really unfortunate. But at the same time, it's also kind of nice because if he was playing, we probably wouldn't have gone after Eli Apple, who I already made a video of, by the way. So you can go check that one out if you want. But yeah, I like our corners. Lattimore, Apple, Robinson, to go along with PJ Williams if we bring him back. If we bring back PJ Williams, we have one of the top corners, corner teams in the entire NFL. PJ Williams would be the best number 4 corner in the entire league, without a doubt. But there's I think he's definitely going to be testing the free agent market, especially after his DUI arrest last week. So it's going to be I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with that situation. I'm a huge PJ Williams fan. I'm a big Florida State fan as well. So, I was clearly really excited when we got him. But you know how the league is, and there's corners in the draft that we can get for a lot cheaper who are probably going to be just as effective and younger. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But moving on to linebackers, Demario Davis, huge season for him. 110 tackles, had like 5.5 sacks or something like that. That big interception in the playoffs definitely filled a big need for us. So I'm really excited to see what we're going to do with him down the future. Build around him a little bit. I'm curious to see what we're going to do with Manti Te'o. He spent most of the season injured, but in the 2 games he did play, he had 15 tackles. So you can tell that the dude gets tackles and he's a playmaker. He's just got to stay healthy. 2 years ago, he was probably our best defensive player outside of Lattimore. And, just build around some of those guys. AJ Klein, Klein's a pretty good linebacker for us. Craig Robertson's going to be a free agent, so maybe like one more big solid linebacker to add to that core would just really put us over the top. And then safeties, we got Kurt Coleman in free agency. He didn't really live up to the hype that much. He was the backup to Von Bell, basically. Von Bell right now is our best safety, in my opinion. Marcus Williams is good, and he tied the team in interceptions for the lead in interceptions with 2. But it just seems like he's always getting burnt, As a safety, your main job is to have nothing behind you, and constantly he's getting burnt. He usually catches up to them and makes the tackle, but there's been a lot of times where he should have easy interceptions, but he's getting burnt down the field, and stuff like that, and he's just playing linebacker instead of playing safety. As a safety, you're our last line of defense. Like, you can't be making mental mistakes like that. So, that's also an area we should be looking at. Maybe Tyrann Mathieu could come over in free agency, reunite him in Louisiana. He obviously played for LSU, grew up in Louisiana, so that could be an interesting topic to keep an eye on as well. Obviously, he said he wants to stay in Houston, but, you got a chance to compete for a Super Bowl over here in New Orleans, so you got to strongly consider that. But for the most part, I like what we have. A main priority for me going into the off season is re-signing Will Lutz, our kicker. He's proven over the past 3 seasons he can be one of the most reliable kickers in the NFL, if not the most reliable. The dude only had 2 missed field goals last year. One of them was blocked, and it wasn't even his fault, and the other one was just shy to the right. He pulled it just a little bit, but hey, it happens, But the dude's an unbelievable kicker, and we definitely need to lock him up long term. So, we got 22 free agents. I made a video on that yesterday, or 2 days ago. You guys can go check that out, of all of our free agents. But, yeah, this is the first podcast. They're going to get better, I promise. But, just bringing you guys all the news and updates and all of that. But I'm very, very excited about the future of the New Orleans Saints. And, if you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It goes a long ways towards helping the channel grow. Obviously I'm not getting paid for YouTube. I'm just doing this to help you guys out and all of that. And, I just appreciate all the support that I've been getting on the Instagram page. We're at 22,500 right now, which is completely mind-blowing to me, guys. You guys have literally changed my life, and I just thank you so much for that. Let's see if we can get the YouTube popping. I'm doing a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers, so make sure that we're hitting that subscribe button, share this video with your friends, hit that like, all of that. Comment down below something, anything, and I'm gonna shout out one of you guys in the next podcast video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. God bless. Who dat?